Good morning, this is Cecil in Blues. Thank you for joining me today for this Final Fantasy XIV video. Live Letter 37 aired in the early morning of July 15th. It was an extensive Q&A session. The North American community team worked all night to translate the answers on the official forums, and you'll find a link in the video description if you'd like to see all the details. I'll also include a link to the VOD both on Twitch and YouTube. I'll be summarizing what I feel are the important bits in today's video, and maybe rushing a little bit more than I usually do because we have house guests for the weekend, which is also the reason that this summary is coming to you a day late. A considerable amount of time was spent addressing balance concerns that have arisen since the release of 4.0. A fair amount of class changes are coming on Tuesday for the release of Omega Savage. I'll go over those changes in detail once the patch notes are released. Today, I'll just touch on the basics. Tanks using level 60 strength accessories is, and this shouldn't come as too much of a surprise, not the intended design. There will be changes made to existing accessories to discourage this behavior. Warriors and Dark Knights can expect potency increases for their weapon skill combos to bring them in line with Paladins. Healers are getting changes as well. In the Q&A, Yoshida mostly focused on scholar changes, including a new damage spell, Miasma 2, and buffs to Emergency Tactics, Indomitability, Excognition, and Fey Union. Plus, they will be getting a trait that reduces Aetherflow's cooldown. White mages will be getting more adjustments to lilies, and astrologians will earn the ability to discard Arcana and Royal Road. Also, the healer role actions get a lot of flack for containing too many must-have skills, such as Protect and Asuna. Yoshida said that they had no current plans to change the list of skills or the number of skills that you can have active at any one time. Remember that additional actions can be customized at any time outside of combat. DPS roles will also get some attention in this patch. Let's start with the bad news. No changes are planned for Riddle of Fire, even though some players find it very disruptive to the rhythm of the monk rotation. Also, there are no specific plans in place to address DPS concerns coming from Dragoons. There are no plans to bring back Sustain for Summoners, but the team is looking for other solutions. There are also no plans to increase the potency of Physic. And ninjas will be getting a potency reduction on Gust Slash. On the other hand, the Black Mage spell Foul will have its MP cost reduced to 0, and Triple Cast will have its cooldown reduced to 60 seconds. Also, the recast timer for Blizzard 4 and Fire 4 have been changed to 2.8 seconds to bring them in line with other spells. Machinists are getting a pile of fixes. Buffs to Hotshot and Turret Overload should help bring their base damage up, and changes to the way the heat gauge function should help create a more even flow to their rotation. This is just a partial list of changes coming on Tuesday. I'll be able to cover them all in detail once it's been finalized and once the patch notes have been released to the players. Some adjustments won't be ready in time for 4.05, but the team is working on them for 4.1. For example, they are working to add Aetherflow stacks and drawn cards back into the party buff bar so that this information can once again be tracked easily by other party members. They will be introducing a text command to reduce the size of Demi Bahamut in a future patch. This is likely going to be a personal cosmetic change like hiding your Gauss barrel as a machinist. The team is looking at making further changes to Sprint that should address complaints about the increased cooldown outside of combat. Alliance Raid Roulette and Alliance Raid cross-server parties will be introduced in patch 4.1. They are also working to adjust Labyrinth of the Ancients so that it only requires one tank per party, but this change may not be in place in time for patch 4.1, and you can expect it in a future patch. On the subject of the rumored Deltascape version of 5.0 that is going to feature an entirely new boss in patch 4.1, this is not true. Yoshida did not specify what Savage Raiders would get for their extra hard challenge in 4.1, but I suspect that it will be a reworked fight from one of the Alliance raids. We will not be seeing the second phase of the inventory expansion in patch 4.1. They are continuing to monitor the effects of the first expansion. This is one of my biggest pet peeves, but I also understand that they are working with an old item database held over from 1.0. And it's probably quite cumbersome to scale this upwards, and developing an entirely new system would require a bridge to the old system so that we can transfer all of the existing players' existing inventory. I get it, it's expensive. I understand. I don't like it, but I do get it. Other questions addressed issues that were more open-ended. Some concerns were raised about problems in leveling dungeons caused by the job changes in 4.0. Instead of rebalancing every job at every level, it's more likely that the team will rebalance the dungeons themselves to ensure that players are not having problems. More customization options will be coming to the job gauges. Transparency settings are widely requested, for example. But for now, they are working to release a simplified version in 4.1. They will begin work on additional customization features based on player feedback once the simplified gauges are complete. The Royal Menagerie battle at the end of Stormblood's story is at the absolute limit of the difficulty that they would use for a story encounter, and they would only do so rarely. In a related note, the area where this fight occurs cannot be revisited, and the requests to do so have been heard. We may be returning there in the future. Some additional things to keep in mind about Tuesday's patch. Gear distribution for Savage Mode raids has been modified slightly in Stormblood in an effort to deal with the large number of different jobs and the high percentage chance of getting a weapon drop that would be unusable by your current team. When clearing the Deltascape 4.0, a universal token will drop. The player who receives this item can use it to create a weapon for their current job. The Lost Canals of Uzanar will be opening on Tuesday, and it will feature Materia 6 drops as well as other valuable rewards. Multiple instances for certain zones will be returning in patch 4.05. This is to address problems on high population servers, mostly related to Ixion spawns. And that was the bulk of the live letter. There was also a Q&A session with art director Hiroshi Minagawa, which included some pie-in-the-sky conversations that had no concrete details or exact future plans, so I've decided not to summarize them here. The translations are available on the official forum thread if you're interested, and the link to that can be found in the video description below. Thank you for tuning in today. I'll be back on Monday night with a patch notes summary once the notes are released. As a casual player, I will not be entering Savage Omega content or discussing it on the channel at all, but I wish everyone luck who enjoys that level of challenge. I have 3 jobs at level 70, Samurai, Monk, and Machinist, and I'll be ready to discuss them in detail once the 4.05 changes are live. I'm also working on a video featuring my favorite music tracks from Stormblood, and if all that sounds interesting to you, make sure to subscribe to the channel so you are notified when new videos are posted. You can also follow me on Twitter @itsboats.